oil palm replanting grants to be proposed to MOF. Good evening and Salam Malaysia Madani. You're watching Malaysia Tonight. I'm Otto Othman. The Ministry of Domestic Trade and Cost of Living, KPDN, will collaborate with Public Institutions of Higher Learning, IPTA, to conduct an impact study of the Payung Rahmah initiative. This is to ensure that the programs implemented since January have a positive effect on the people. According to its acting minister, Dato' Armizan Muhammad Ali, the upcoming study would also focus on finding ways to ensure the sustainability and long-term viability of the initiative.
Dan pada masa yang sama, yang paling penting juga adalah feedback daripada komuniti perniagaan itu. Pastinya mereka, peranan mereka cukup penting. Maka kita perlu juga untuk mendengar pandangan, suara daripada komuniti-komuniti peniaga untuk memastikan mereka dapat terlibat dengan lebih aktif lagi. Sebab mereka juga komponen masyarakat kita dan mereka ingin menyumbang, namun
He added that the impact study would help KPDN in devising strategies for the continuous and sustainable implementation of the Payung Rahmah initiative, thus achieving its goals within a broader framework. Commenting on the Ehsan Rahmah sales program, Dato' Armizan said a total of 2.1 million visitors and 57 million ringgit in sales were recorded during the first 7 months of its implementation. The Madani communities serve as the Communications and Digital Ministry's eyes and ears to channel information regarding issues with internet coverage in their respective areas. Describing Madani communities as the government's frontline machinery in channeling information and input on development needs, Minister Fahmi Fazil said that such a role would help his ministry ensure that Malaysians had access to good internet and communications coverage.
Saya harap dengan adanya tertubuhnya komuniti madani di ketiga-tiga kawasan parlimen ini, usaha dan ikhtiar kerajaan termasuk dasar-dasar program-program akan dapat sampai kepada peringkat komuniti.
Madani Community is a volunteer body administered by the Information Department, JAPIN, and based on 3 main cores to channel information to the government, digitalize communities, and to instill unity, patriotism, and nationalism. The government had announced previously that it intends to appoint 1,878 Madani communities throughout the country in phases, and 168 Madani communities have and are being appointed in Selangor's 56 state constituencies. The Health Ministry, or MOH, will study the need to provide influenza vaccination to the public, especially for those at risk. Its Minister, Dr. Zaliha Mustafa, however, said as the number of influenza cases in the country is currently under control, in the initial stage, the vaccine would only be given to MOH frontline workers. In addition, she said the public health facilities available nationwide should be able to accommodate more patients if there is a surge in the number of cases soon. The minister noted that based on MOH data for the 30th epidemiological week this year, the consultation rate for influenza-like illness, or ILI, at health clinics is 6.3%, a drop from the 6.4% in the previous week. In another development, Dr. Zaliha said Dungun Hospital, which was earlier classified as a sick project, is already 99% complete and is expected to be operational next year. When completed, Dungun Hospital will become the 3rd specialist hospital in Terengganu after Sultanah Nur Zahira Hospital and Kemaman Hospital. The 110-bed hospital offers 10 specialty services including emergency, medicine, pediatrics, obstetrics and gynecology, anesthesiology, orthopedics, psychiatry, dentistry, and pathology. The Education Ministry will make every effort to realize the establishment of a new type of school, specifically for students from hardcore poor families, next year. MITS Minister Fadlina Siddiq said this was because efforts to provide quality education to underprivileged children in the country have always been part of her ministry's agenda. Elaborating further, she said the special school will, among other things, have a clear direction of improving the level of education among children from poor families. The minister was met after officiating the Schools in Hospitals program at the Sultanah Bahiyah Hospital in Al-Ostar. Yesterday, Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim said the government was planning to introduce a new type of school specifically for children of the poorest groups in the country so that they are not left behind in the education system. At least 21 injured in East China earthquake. That and more coming up in our foreign segment. A shallow 5.4 magnitude earthquake struck eastern China in the early hours of today, with state media reporting at least 21 people injured and dozens of buildings collapsed. The U.S. Geological Survey said the quake, which struck at 2:33 a.m. local time, hit 26 kilometers south of the city of Dezhou in Shandong province, a depth of 10 kilometers. It was believed to be the strongest hit to the province in more than a decade. Citing Shandong authorities, a state broadcaster said there were at least 21 injured and that 126 houses or other buildings had collapsed from the earthquake, which was followed by 52 aftershocks. It also reported that water and communications infrastructure were functioning normally in the area, but hundreds of train services were suspended this morning. The quake was felt as far away as Beijing and Tianjin. This, as well as in Shanghai, about 800 kilometers from the epicenter. China's Ministry of Emergency Management has launched a Level 4 emergency response and sent a team to Shandong province to lead the rescue work. Earthquakes are not uncommon in China, but it is rare for them to hit the eastern part of the country, where most of the population and big cities are located. 5 boys and their father were killed after a fire ripped through a house in Australia's Queensland state early today. The fire occurred on Russell Island, a small community about 60 kilometers southeast of Brisbane, and destroyed the family's house while damaging 2 others. A police spokesperson said the victims were described as young boys that could have become men into the future, alongside their father, who also lost his life. The spokesperson added a 28-year-old woman who is said to be the mother of the children survived the blaze and is being treated in hospital. Queensland Fire and Rescue said the house had collapsed due to the fire and some nearby residences were affected, with 9 people suffered minor injuries. The cause of the fire is not yet known, but the police are not treating the blaze as suspicious at this stage as the investigations are still ongoing. Japan today commemorated the 78th anniversary of the U.S. atomic bomb attack on the western city of Hiroshima, with thousands of people attending an annual ceremony. Participants observed a minute's silence at 8:15 a.m. local time in the Peace Memorial Park near Ground Zero, the moment when a U.S. B-29 bomber dropped an atomic bomb on the city 78 years ago. At the ceremony, thousands of people, including survivors, relatives, and foreign dignitaries from a record 111 countries, prayed for those killed or wounded in the bombing and called for world peace. The unprecedented nuclear attack in 1945 killed tens of thousands of residents in seconds, and by the end of that year, some 140,000 had died due to the bombing. Prime Minister Fumio Kishida said Japan, as the only nation to have suffered atomic bombings in war, will continue efforts towards a nuclear-free world. He said the path towards it is becoming increasingly difficult because of deepening divisions in the international community over nuclear disarmament and Russia's nuclear threat. Given this situation, he said it is all the more important to bring back international momentum towards realization of a nuclear-free world.
Tiada jalan mudah untuk berjaya dan tiada jalan mudah untuk bahagia. Jadi buang tabiat tidak baik untuk berjaya dan bahagia. Buang perangai kita yang ingin mengambil hati orang. Buang gaya hidup buruk yang tak sihat.
The The country's rising squash star Aira Azman became the new national champion by beating seasoned campaigner Nur Aina Amani Ampani 3-1 to capture the 38th edition of the National Squash Championships today. It was her first title in the prestigious championship competition after 4 previous failed attempts since 2018. In the championships held at the National Squash Centre in Bukit Jalil, the Kedah-born player took just 24 minutes to overcome Nur Aina 11-5, 7-11, 11-3, 11-9 in 4 games. Commenting on her game today, Aira said she had not expected to beat Nur Aina convincingly because her opponent had beaten the number 1 seed and favourite in the competition, Rachel Arnold, yesterday.
So delighted to win this tournament because it's my first national champion. I think she played really well this week as well because yesterday she upset the first seeded. So I was a bit nervous to play with her, but since we've been training with each other for quite some time already, like training partner as well. So I think I already know my game plan how to beat her. So I played her a couple of times, so it's time to get more up further than her.
Meanwhile, in the men's final, second-seeded Ivan Yuan pulled off a pleasant surprise by beating the number 1 seed and 5 times title winner Muhammad Ad-Din Idraki Bahtiar 3-1 to clinch the title. Yuan battled for 56 minutes before overcoming Muhammad Ad-Din 11-6, 11-8, 6-11, 11-6 in 4 sets. The national track cycling ace Dato' Muhammad Azizul Hasni Awang's hopes of advancing to the men's sprint quarterfinals at the 2023 World Track Cycling Championships in Glasgow, Scotland were dashed after he was knocked out in the second round last night. Dato' Muhammad Azizul Hasni, who was up against the Thomas Cornish in Heat 4, was eliminated after he tried to overtake the Australian with just half a lap to go during the race at the Sir Chris Hoy Velodrome, resulting in his relegation. Although he crossed the finish line ahead of Cornish, the Dungan-born rider was relegated for deviating into Cornish's lane in the final straight, handing the Australian the win. Although the commissioner accepted his explanation that he did not commit the infringement deliberately, Dato' Muhammad Azizul Hasni, the 2020 Olympic Games silver medalist, was still disappointed with the decision to relegate him. However, the former world champion said he accepted the decision and wished Cornish all the best in the next stage. In tennis, Greek top seed Stefanos Tsitsipas defeated Australian 5th seed Alex de Minaur 6-3, 6-4 to capture the ATP Mexico Open for his first title in 14 months. After Tsitsipas dominated the first set, de Minaur surrendered a break on a double fault to open the second set, but broke back at love in the 6th game to pull level. Tsitsipas, who won 23 of his 28 first serve points, responded with a break in the 9th game, seizing a 5-4 edge with a blistering forehand winner, then held serve to finish off the Australian after 86 minutes when de Minaur sent a forehand long. 12-seed talent Griekspoor of the Netherlands overcame an early deficit to upset top-seeded American Taylor Fritz 3-6, 6-3, 6-2 in the semifinals of the DC Open in Washington. Griekspoor racked up 13 aces and won 37 of 46 first serve points to oust the top seed. Fritz, the highest-ranked American in 9th in the world, won the first set 6-3 after a break in the second game. But 12-seed Griekspoor fought, breaking when he was 4-3 up and forcing a third set, which was close-fought until Griekspoor made the most of Fritz's errors to break in the 5th game. Fritz saved 7 of 10 break points, but it was not enough to advance to the final. The Dutchman won the last 5 games with 20 of the 27 points to grab his first win against a top 10 foe and give himself a chance at a third title this year. Should he win the tournament, Griekspoor will move to world number 21 tomorrow, further building on his banner season in which he has already won 27 matches, 10 more than he claimed during 2022, and titles in Pune and Schottenbosch. Coming up next in our business segment, negative factors drag down pace of global economic recovery. Batik Air has been selected as an operator for the Kuala Lumpur-Istanbul SAHIH Gökçen International Airport flight route, which with flights to commence in October this year. In a posting on Facebook, following Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim's virtual meeting with Turkey President Recep Tayyip Erdogan yesterday, Datuk Sri Anwar reiterated Malaysia's Airports Holdings Berhad's commitment to invest 200 million British pounds in the Istanbul SAHIH Gökçen International Airport. The Prime Minister was accompanied by Foreign Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Zamri Abdul Kadir during the virtual meeting. In 2022, Malaysia's total trade with Turkey rose by 12.6% year-on-year to $4.62 billion. Meanwhile, the total trade surplus stood at $3.33 billion as Turkey imports palm oil and palm oil-based agricultural products. Datuk Sri Anwar said during the session, Erdogan gave a clear commitment to fulfilling his invitation to visit Malaysia in the near future to further strengthen the relationship between the two countries. The Plantation and Commodities Ministry, or KPK, will propose oil palm replanting grants to the Finance Ministry, or MOF. Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Sri Fadilah Yusof, who is also a Plantation and Commodities Minister, said the grants were among matters requested by oil palm smallholders as the crops needed replanting. Elaborating further on the matter, the Deputy Premier said that what the government is currently doing for the replanting initiative is providing soft loans through Agrobank, where the smallholders are only charged interest or a management fee of 2% and start making a repayment in the 5th year.
Sebab bila tanam semula, dia tak ada hasil 4 tahun. Tahun kelima barulah mula bayaran. Pinjaman ni bukan saja untuk penanaman semula, juga untuk baja, racun ataupun input pertanian dan juga untuk membeli peralatan pertanian. Dan ini yang kita sediakan melalui pinjaman mudah ini.
Datuk Sri Fadilah said this after launching his ministry's commodity track dialogue with Selangor oil palm smallholders at Pulau Keri in Selangor. The Agro-Madani sales is one of the government's market interventions to maintain essential items, including fresh produce, at reasonable prices. Deputy Agricultural Food Security Minister Chan Fung Hin said this is because the prices offered through the program are at least 15% lower than the market price.
Melalui program ini, kita berhasrat untuk memberikan peringatan dan penghormatan kepada perkhidmatan yang telah dicurahkan oleh warga tani. Pada masa yang sama, kita juga nak membawa barang-barang agromakanan yang berpatutan harganya kepada rakyat melalui berbagai jualan pada hari ini.
Chan was met during the walkabout in conjunction with the Agro-Madani sales at the Sungai Petani Farmers Market. The Agro-Madani sales were carried out simultaneously nationwide today, involving 192 locations. Tenaga Nasional Berhad TNB has presented a letter of intent to Lao Electricide Du Lao (EDL) to collaborate in facilitating cross-border renewable energy RE trade and human capital development. This is part of TNB's ongoing drive to strengthen the ASEAN Power Grid APG interconnectivity and to reinforce TNB power generation Sdn Berhad's TNB Genco presence as the power generation arm in ASEAN countries. In a statement released today, the utility company said it is keen to form a joint collaboration committee to optimize resource utilization, bolster energy security, and promote knowledge and expertise sharing through innovative mechanisms for energy exchange, leveraging TNB's educational and research institutions. It also said that the initiative further strengthens TNB's strategic partnerships and the execution strategy with major energy players, as TNB Genco EDL has signed a memorandum of understanding to explore investment and offtake opportunities for renewable power projects in Laos. The collaboration will also explore the feasibility of exporting the RE generated in Laos to Malaysia via the Laos-Thailand-Malaysia Power Integration Project or any other arrangements. China Federation of Logistics and Purchasing said that the Global Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index, or PMI, for July has rebounded slightly compared with last month, while it is still standing at a low position and the global economy continues to face downturn. Official data showed the global manufacturing PMI was 47.9%, an increase of 0.1 percentage points from the previous month, ending the trend of 4 consecutive months of month-on-month decline. But the index has been at a low level below 48% for 2 consecutive months. From a global perspective, the global economy is still challenged by multiple risks, including the slow decline in core inflation rate of developed economies, the still tightening monetary policy, the rise in uncertainty of the financial market environment, and remaining geopolitical conflicts which are continuing to drag down the pace of global economy recovery. The latest World Economic Outlook of the International Monetary Fund estimated that the global economy will grow by 3% in 2023, which is slightly higher than the forecast in April this year by 0.2 percentage points, but still significantly lower than the historical average of 3.8%. The ringgit is likely to maintain its tight range of 4 ringgit 54 cent to 4 ringgit 56 cent against the US dollar next week, as investors are expected to closely monitor several data scheduled to be released by the United States. Bank Muamalat Malaysia Berhad Chief Economist and Social Finance Head Dr. Muhammad Afzal Nizam Abdul Rashid said the U.S. non-farm payrolls, or NFP, report would set the tone for the U.S. dollar next week. He said should the figure turn out to be better than expected, it may give further support to the U.S. dollar, as the U.S. Federal Reserve would be looking at the incoming data before deciding its next course of action. On that note, Dr. Muhammad Afzal Nizam said the U.S. Consumer Price Index, or CPI, will be reported next week. And thus far, for what has been seen is that the inflation rate continuing to moderate to 3% in June this year, after reaching 9.1% in June 2022. He said that the inflation print is critical, as this has been the main economic variable that resulted in the aggressive monetary tightening by the Fed. For the week just ended, the ringgit was traded mostly lower before rebounding at the end of the week. The eligibility criteria for the automatic transfer of companies listed on the ACE market to the main market of Bursa Malaysia will be ready by the end of 2023. The Securities Commission Malaysia SC said the criteria and process are currently being reviewed and discussed together with Bursa Malaysia. In a statement today, the SC said the transfer process will benefit qualified ACE market companies by providing them with greater visibility and access to a larger pool of investors. Additionally, the increased number of listed companies with large market capitalization on the main market will offer more investors, particularly large as well as foreign investors, a diverse range of investment opportunities in the Malaysian capital market. Meanwhile, the SC has also agreed to provide securities brokers the flexibility to offer fractional trading to enhance retail investors' access to the stock market. A delegation of senior diplomats from ASEAN, Asian, African and Latin American countries said they were impressed by Xinjiang's prosperity and development, adding that they are looking forward to expanding cooperation with the region under the Belt and Road Initiative framework. The foreign diplomats concluded their tour of northwest China's Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region recently, during which they visited local companies, learned about Islamic culture and interacted with the locals. In 2022, the value of cross-border e-commerce goods in the comprehensive Bondan area reached 1.29 billion yuan, an up of 291% year-on-year. According to official data, in the first half of this year, Xinjiang's trade value with foreign countries reached 149.62 billion yuan, of which 138.3 billion yuan was from imports and exports with countries along with Belt and Road Initiative routes. The envoys noted that people in Xinjiang are optimistic about their future, as Xinjiang has been integrated into China's national development strategy. During the visit, the envoys were impressed by the harmonious, stable and prosperous development of Xinjiang, which they said offers a different outlook in contrast to biased Western media reports. Pakistan's industrial manufacturing sector, like elsewhere in the world, has suffered from the slowdown in global consumption and the rise in energy costs following the outbreak of war in Ukraine. But the difficulties of the textile sector, which accounts for 60% of Pakistan's exports, are compounded by the critical state of the economy and months of political chaos. In Pakistan, the industry was buoyed at the tail end of the coronavirus pandemic, when it was freed of restrictions earlier than regional rivals India and Bangladesh, and benefited from government financial aid, including slashed energy rates. In 2022 until 2023, however, textile exports fell by 15% to $16.5 billion. The textile and clothing sector employs around 40% of the country's 20 million strong industrial workforce. The main export markets are the US, EU, the UK, Turkey, and the UAE, supplying cotton fabrics, knitted wear, bed linen, towels, and ready-made garments to global brands. But many factories have closed in recent months, at least temporarily, or are no longer running at full capacity. Textile companies also saw the cost of capital rise significantly, contending with interest rates of more than 20%, as the central bank sought to curb record-breaking inflation. Well, that concludes this evening's Malaysia Tonight. In our top story, government to conduct Payung Rahmah Initiative Impact Study. Now do tune in to updates at noon, coming up tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. on TV2. Till then, I'm Otto Othman. Malaysia Madani, Teka Perpaduan Penuhi Harapan. Thanks for watching and good evening.